Hi, my name is Charles Winfield. Today I'll be presenting Module 8 Full Stack Development using React.js, using props and states, Bootstrap with React, Chart.js, intermediate Mongo database concepts, cookies, and session tokens. The requirements for this project were to create an admin homepage with a grid of cards, create toast notifications, create modal confirmations, create 24-hour session token, create a transaction records page, and create a chart using Chart.js. All right, so we're on localhost 5173 for the front end development here. I'm just going to go ahead and log in and show you the project as we go along, and then I'll flip back into Visual Studio Code in between features. So first we're going to sign in. And we just saw that toast notification up top that said login was successful. And then also down here, we see where the session token has been created and its value. And this is in the cookies database here. And it'll be stored for 24 hours. Give me just a second here. Can't get in there. So yeah, so the cookie has been created. All right, and this was the first requirement here, was to have a grid of cards in the admin dashboard. So we have agent management, transaction management, and report section. And then we also have this notification up here that says welcome Charles, or whatever the username is will be put up there as a message that you are in fact in the correct location. So first we're going to go to the agent management table, and then I'll explain the login and working flow. So here we go. So this is the agent directory, and that's where the first card goes. And if we go click on that, it'll take us back to the home screen, and we're still logged in. Then we go to transaction management, where we can create a new transaction. And again, we just click back on that the homepage logo, the Rocket Elevators logo, and it'll take us back to the admin dashboard. And then finally, we have the report section here, where we built the charts using Chart.js. Okay, so real quick, we're just going to go over the admin login and authentication flow. So these are the files that were used. We've got the login JSX file, and this is pretty much what renders the page. And these are the different states here, the use state that we have set up. And then ultimately what happens when actions occur on the page. So on the login component, it handles the admin user authentication. So these are all the states that we imported from React, and that's use state, use navigate. That's for the API routes, the utilities, and the cookies utilities, which we also have the cookie utilities folders here. This is how the cookies are handled by the JWT. The JWT session tokens, am I saying that right, are handled in this file. So ultimately we wrap the ID from the token into a cookie for the session. So that's how this works here. And uh, ultimately it's set to expire um, with this variable here 1 day. So that's the 24 hours. The cookie name is, we call it the session token. So we've got that stored into a variable. And then ultimately it runs the function once the user logs in, and then we also have, it removes the session when it times out. So we have that functionality there, and this is the schema that we created for the token. And of course we're using Mongoose here. So we have the session token, the type string, required, unique, and then the user ID is how the token is assigned, and that's with the user. So, and then also then we have this export it out down here into sessions. And then we have our authentication logged in file, and ultimately this is where the authentication for the user occurs. So we're using the use states here. Let me go back up to the top here. So we've imported these different states and for React uh, from the other files up here, and basically this provides authentication to all the child components. So for the user, this is how we store the authenticated user data. And then we make sure this is state tracking to make sure the user is currently authenticated. And then we load the state. And then also we have the validation for the second for the session token on application mount to make sure that's still good. So these are all the authorizations that are required to keep the user logged in. And then also we have more functionality here for the require authentication, the route guard. So that's pretty much how that works for the validation and the session token. Okay, so we're back on the admin dashboard here. And now we'll be going over the agent management list. Just to show you real quick, this was already done in the previous project, but we did add some additional features here. So we added confirmation for editing the modal here. Are you sure you want to edit? And then you can either confirm or cancel. And then so I'll just go ahead and edit her rating from 85 to 100. All right, and then we get another confirmation modal there. We got the confirmation. And then we also have the toast notification that the agent was successfully updated there. So that functionality is working. And then also on delete. So are you sure that you want to delete? This action cannot be undone. And we're not going to delete now. I'll show you that in just a second here when we go over to the transaction records, and I'll show you why. So on the transaction management here, we have the transaction management table of recent transactions where the latest transaction is posted at the top. Then we have pagination down here, so we only show 10 records at a time. So right now we have quite a few. Now, we set the inactive agent is any agent that's deleted. So what happens is when an agent is deleted, their name is removed, but their sales record stays. But we change their name to inactive agent. So we're going to go ahead and create a new transaction. And before we do that, just to get everything set here. Okay, so we're going to use Ava will lead. Her current sales are $2,652. So we're going to go ahead and make a transaction for $1,000. So it'll go up by 1,000. So we have the functionality here. The drop down, you choose any agent that is listed as active. So once the agent's deleted, their name is also removed from here. So we'll go ahead and create this transaction, and we get the modal pop up here. Gives the agent name, the amount, and are you sure you want to create this transaction? So we click confirm, and then we get the toast transaction created successfully. And then if we go back, or if we look here, that transaction is posted to the very top of the page. The agent's name, the amount of the transaction, and the date. And then if we go over to the transaction management table, go back to the agent management table, we can also see that the sales amount has updated. So from $2,000 to $3,652. So we're good to go there. So next, we're going to go and check the delete function. So just go back here to the transaction management table just to show you. So we have, we're going to create a transaction, then we're going to delete the agent. So I'm just going to say $500, and the agent will be Terry Walton. And we create the transaction. Are you sure you want to create this transaction? Confirm. Okay, so now you see that transaction is created here at the top of the screen. And then if we go back to the agent management table, you can see that his sales have went up by $500, but we're going to go ahead and delete his account. He is no longer an agent. He has decided to leave the company, and we'll go ahead and hit confirm. The agent was deleted successfully. Now what happens over here in the transaction management is the agent is now listed as inactive agent. So the sales record remains, but the agent name has been removed. So this is done for reporting purposes for the company, so they can keep track of their sales, even if an agent leaves the company. All right, so we're inside here of the transaction.js file to go over how the transactions are created. So this file here is actually the schema, and this is how we create the fields in the table. We have the amount, the agent ID, and then the time it was created or date it was created, and then we have that exported out into the transaction schema. This is the transaction JSX page. So ultimately, we have a host of variables here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but they're for the agents, the form, the transactions, the total pages, and all these provide the functionality on the table, the confirmation modal, and so on. So um, when we want to get an agent and post it, this is the functionality here. So, these are the managed states, the use effect. And then we just go through the various functionality here to make sure that we have the correct pages at the bottom for the pagination. And then we have the actual files here, the functionality here to update the agent, to create the agent, to verify and see if the agent exists. And that's using the post method. So here are the steps here. We create the post request. And if it's invalid, it'll shoot back the error message and tell you exactly what the error is, and then it verifies that the agent exists. So we use the fetch find by ID for the agent ID, which is the unique number that's created and stored in the Mongo database there. So we fetch that information, and then when we create a transaction, we await, we save it, and then this is the functionality that updates the agent sales by the transaction amount. So we use the find by ID and update. So it'll find the agent ID, and then it'll go in and increase the sales there once we have confirmed the request. And that's pretty much the gist over here. We also have the separate CSS file for the transaction page, just for manageability and just to give us some style there. And then also we added the pagination at the bottom, which is the code that's up here. And then we also use fetch request to get that information and make sure that the transactions were received. If I'm saying that correct, yes. And that concludes that portion. Okay, so we're still logged in here, and we're going to look at the last card in the dashboard, which is the report section. And as you can see, it shows the bar chart. We just have the inactive agent together. So these are all the inactive agents. This is all their sales combined. We just have that in one field, and then it has the additional employees listed here based on their sales. And as you hover over, you can see it gives you a more detailed input. And then we have the bar chart here that shows the daily transaction totals. And then if you hover over, it'll give you the actual amount of the transactions for that day. So that's the report section. And then, of course, we have the logout, which will take you right back to the login page. Okay, so now we're looking at the report.js file, basically how the report function works. We have the report.jsx. This is how the chart renders, and we use, as you can see here, imported from React chart.js, and these are the different elements that we use for the chart. And then we have our variables designed here with the proper states to render the report data. And basically it fetches, it gets the information for the transactions that we loaded into a variable called transactions, and then we have it populate here with agent ID, and that's how it identifies the information. And so we have the agent name, and then the amount of their transaction there. So this gives the styling color for the agent bar data, for the background and border colors, and then the line chart data here. And we have daily totals, and then we basically just have a simple for loop, and it iterates through here and goes for 14 days, and provides the sum of the transactions by date. And this is what we'll see in the browser there, the status 200 OK. If we get the error, then we got the error message. And that's pretty much how the functionality for the bar works. And then we have some additional styling here for the actual bars and the cards. So that's pretty much how this file works. That concludes our video for Module 8, Full Stack Development 3. My takeaways in conclusion were how to use React props and states, how to implement session tokens, advanced communications with Mongo database, and creating toast notifications, and how to add modal confirmation. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.